Hello, friends, and welcome to Not All the Things. This is a space for success driven, mature women of color where we share tips and strategies for balancing work life commitments, wellness, and wine. And I'm so glad that you are here. If you are new here, thanks for coming into this space. This is an opportunity for us to celebrate how, yes, we do work hard, but we really need to find time to play even harder. So if this resonates with you in any way, please join us on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. and invite a sister friend to the conversation. And don't forget to bring your glass, red, white. I'm having bubbles today. Bubbles or water. I also have my water with me. And so again, I'm so glad to have you here. Let's get started. So I recently had an opportunity to watch the film Inside Out 2 with my daughter. And that film was super interesting because the main character, Riley, was dealing with some new emotions being introduced into her system. And those emotions were anxiety, envy, embarrassment, and boredom. And as I was watching, I was thinking, wow, this is timely because we're sitting there and we're looking at it, and anxiety was revving up inside of Riley. It was making her almost incapable of doing what she knew what was the right thing to do. She was close to the end. Anxiety was going in a swirl, just swirling, basically having a panic attack. And all of the other emotions were watching her and trying to calm her. But it was interesting to see that they realized that they couldn't make that decision for her. She herself had to go into herself and she had to pause. And the thing that she did that I thought was so interesting is that she took a deep breath. She put her head down and she was absolutely inside of herself thinking about how to still herself. And so at that moment I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be great because this is the conversation we're having today. And so our topic for today is yoga and meditation as a stress reliever and anxiety reducer. And it's something that, of course, we know logically, but hard to do. And so I'm excited to have this conversation with my sister Lateefah so that she can talk about some of the ways in which we can really bring in yoga and meditation into our lives and start with the mindset. Start with it is going to help me if I do these things. Not, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I don't have time to sit still. Um, and again, this is something that I can't say that I'm great at. I'm really getting better at the meditation. I do it at night. At least I think I'm getting better with it because I do put my meditation on. I try to center myself at night and I begin to drift away. My family says I don't even hear the meditation, but I disagree with them. I do think that just taking a moment to be still and centering helps me to kind of calm down in the same way that Riley, although she was spinning in her head and the emotions were going all around, she realized herself that she had to calm down and she had to get to her center. So I'm looking forward to this conversation with Sister Lateefah. Let's get started. So I want to welcome my sister Lateefah to the room. She's laughing because we're talking about her sounding like a deaconess with that name, Sister Lateefah, but that is okay. She is absolutely my sister and my Sora. So I want you to give a round of applause and welcome Sister Lateefah. Yay! How are you?
We're gonna roll with that, Sister Lateefah. We're gonna roll with it today.
We gonna make it work. We gonna make it do what it do.
We're gonna make it do what it do.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that you were willing to come on and share some knowledge around this
No problem
idea
at all.
of, really managing your, people's anxieties and or stress
Mm,
using the idea
hmm
of yoga and meditation. And I think
Yes.
a lot of times when people think about yoga, and maybe not, but when they think about yoga and meditation, they tend to say, oh, I don't have the time, or my body can't do that, or I just won't allow myself. And so one of the things that I have been thinking about, I have these 5 considerations. Usually we talk about tips and strategies, but for this conversation, I feel like it's just like considerations for us to kind of think through. And this first consideration is around managing anxiety as a way of being intentional and in control of your emotions. And so if you can say to
Mm.
yourself, I can deal with what's going on in my life. And two, yes, it's crazy. Yes, it's stressful, but I've been here before and I'm going to be okay. But if you can just manage and if you can just try to regulate and slow down, and I feel like that's what meditation and yoga does, right? And so this
It
idea
does.
of being in
It
being
does.
intentional as a way to control your emotions. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
I love the word you used, intentional.
Mm.
So first and foremost, thank you for having me on.
Yes,
I
and you know
really
what?
appreciate it. And I'm thankful I get to share with you. Um, that's a good word, intentional, because when it comes to meditation, you have to walk into it with an intention.
Mm,
And it's not something difficult, but I like to say it's an intention and a commitment. And even as I say those really big words,
mm,
it can still be done.
mm.
Because for some people, that part alone brings them anxiety.
Right, right.
Yeah, okay, so that goes back to what you said. It makes them say, "Well, I don't have time to sit and be intentional
Mm-hmm.
and aware, and I don't have that time."
Mm-hmm.
But when we start to break it down into very simple terms, we always have time. So I tell people to start with 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes. First of all, 2 minutes, that takes the stress away. You're
Right.
like, okay, I can sit still for 2 minutes probably.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's one. Two, set your intention on being still for those 2 minutes. Three, no judgment.
Mm.
We One of the things I hear a lot is, you know, well, my brain is racing. My brain is racing. Oh, I can't do it. I can't. I can't. You know what? This is where that non judgment comes in and
Mm-hmm.
the acceptance. So non-judgment is strictly, I have these thoughts in my head as I'm sitting here and meditating, but oh, it's okay. I'll just observe them and let them move on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the other thing is to just let it go, let it be. Whatever happens at that time is okay.
Right.
Just sit still.
Right.
And then you start to build that time. And as you build that time, the anxiety the anxiety of performing the act of meditation goes away,
Mm-hmm.
because there is
Mm-hmm.
anxiety around that goes away,
Right.
and then you're kind of excited to start pumping up your time. So you
Right.
started with 2, and next thing you know, I'm like, hey, add on 1 more minute,
Right.
and you just keep adding on. And there's so many different types of meditation, but for some people, for most people, especially most Westerners, forget Westerners, especially in the Northeast of the United States, we're really,
This is pretty
and
close.
like, let's say Southern California, like
Right.
there's
Right.
specific spots in the country where we're just like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just taking a moment to be still, we
Mm-hmm.
can do it.
Yes.
We can do it. We can start in one place and move forward. And we don't have to worry about whether we did it right.
Right. Right.
I just need you all to start just by sitting still. And for a lot of people, that is a big chore,
Yes.
just sitting still.
Yes.
So I like to have it where you start, you sit still, you keep it simple,
Mm-hmm.
and you start to build your time and you start to build your own patience with yourself
Mm-hmm.
and non judgment. Once that non judgment comes, it's okay when those thoughts come into your head. You're actually all right with that.
Right.
You know that they're just there for a moment
Right. Right.
and they can go away. You'll just watch them pass on by.
Oh, I appreciate that. So I hear you saying, one, make sure to give yourself grace and not have judgment about the moment of being
Hmm.
still, because that's something that for
Right.
many of us we're not willing to do, or we struggle to do it. And then I heard you say, start small, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just
Yeah.
sitting still,
Yeah.
just sitting still. And I would say that kind of leads me into that next consideration, that meditation is a way to be present, right? And it's a way for
Hmm.
us to be in our thoughts and to quiet the self talk. And you just brought that up. Yes, you might be sitting in your head saying, oh my gosh, I can't do it. But if you are to just sit still with it and be present, then you have to be in your head. And for many of us, we're trying not to be in our head. We're trying to
We try.
run from those conversations that we're having with ourselves.
We try.
I know
We
we
try.
try. I know we
We
try.
try not to be so deep in our head. Um, well, there's a lot of heady people out there, though. Um,
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
There are a lot of heady people. And I do think that adds to their stress that they have, and that adds to the level of concern, because they're thinking about the outward, they're thinking about work, they're thinking about how they're going to be seen and how they're going to be judged, and so
Let me
they're in
stop
it.
you on that part. That's a
Mm-hmm.
big deal. They're thinking on the outward. That's a
Mm-hmm.
very big deal.
Right.
We have to come from within to
Mm.
do this. We have to literally practice non-attachment,
Mm. Say more about that.
um, which is it's a non-attachment or detachment from external sources. So
Mm.
it doesn't mean that if there's someone that you love, you stop loving them. Whoop, I got to be detached. No, it means you're able to be in a meditative space if a train goes by,
Mm.
if um, you hear a noise, if you hear an alarm somewhere or anything. Um, you're able to detach from that and know that you're in the space that you need to be in,
Mm.
and that's the withdrawal of the senses.
Mm.
You don't hear, that's usually a really big stage, but that's a goal,
That's a
to
goal.
detach from those external stimuli.
Nice. That's really helpful. I find that the thing that helps me the most when I'm sitting still is taking deep breaths. And I know that seems so simple, but just
No,
having a
not simple.
focused breath is like,
Not
whew.
simple.
And sometimes when I really am frustrated at work or frustrated with a situation, I realize, you know what, let me walk away before I cut somebody out and let me take a deep breath. Let me
Breath.
take that breath.
In yoga, it is for breath work, it's called pranayama, and
Mm-hmm.
prana is life force. Um, so you think about it, if you think of your breath as a life force, that's powerful,
Mm.
right? So somebody says something to piss you off, it
Mm.
is powerful to take that breath.
Right.
You're pulling in your own life force, you're taking your breath, which means that situation, to me, this is where I go with it. To
Mm-hmm.
me, that situation is so less than.
Right.
What really matters is that life force. And a lot of times with my classes, I always, for my yoga classes, start with breath work. It's actually one of the 8 limbs of yoga anyway. And pranayama is very important to make sure that you are breathing. But I have them start with the breath. Okay, hun?
I'm good. Thank you.
But I make them sit still and just practice awareness of the breath and practice paying attention to something that we generally take for granted.
Right. Right.
We know that we're breathing. It's like, it's not even a thing. It's not even like, oh, I know I'm breathing. It's
Right.
it's not even it really isn't a thing. But what happens when you sit still and you pay attention to that
Mm.
breath? something that we take for granted, but something that's so powerful. No breath, no life,
Right. That is a
right?
powerful statement. No breath, no life.
And now what happens when you sit there and you feel that breath? You sit still and you breathe. That's a form of meditation, just being still like that. And it actually can really bring on a sense of gratitude as well. And that sense of gratitude helps to bring peace. And with peace comes the calm. And that is a very simple way to meditate. It is not always a particular kind. You know, we do have the metaphysical, Vipassana. We have different types of meditation, but sometimes to keep it as simple as being still, two
Mm-hmm.
minutes, focusing on the breath,
Mm-hmm.
and really focusing on the fact that it is a life force.
Right.
And we take it for granted, but it's a gift.
Yeah, it is
So
the.
if you
It,
have nothing else to be thankful for that day, just sit and breathe, and you know that's a gift.
yeah, I appreciate that because it is the one thing that I know I can do to kind of center myself, and it 100% helps me. And it's the simplest motion, but it's so
Yeah.
again intentional when I just I know for myself.
Hmm.
You know what? Take that breath. And sometimes when I'm nervous about doing something, or if I'm like, oh my gosh, how's this gonna land? I take a breath and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I'm
Yeah.
centered the best I can
Let's
be,
just
and
do it. Let's get
let's
centered.
just
Let's take that breath.
let's just let's just get started.
Let it
Um,
happen.
yeah,
Let it
let it
happen.
happen, let it go. I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
The breath being really important. I
So
think the other
important.
consideration that I was just toying with is the idea that meditation is an action. And when I think about, for myself, meditation,
Mm.
I'm just beginning to journey into meditation. And I have found myself not able to always slow down. It's not my natural way to be still.
Right.
And so just
Um,
realizing that it's action to meditate, but it is not just simply being still, but it's being more focused and more concentrated. And I think my awareness of that is helping me to actually slow it down. I think it has something to do with just getting older and just being tired. But I also
well,
think there's some
wisdom
wisdom.
and
There's
fatigue
some
go
wisdom. There's
hand
some
in hand.
wisdom coming. And therefore I'm finally getting there. I my husband is he loves yoga. He's always been a
Mm.
person who, listen, he's laughing at me like, oh, now you want to come to yoga, oh, now you want to pay attention, oh,
It's
now.
never too late to start.
Exactly. So
Never too
yes,
late.
I appreciate that,
Mm.
and I just realized that.
May I just,
Yeah.
yoga is actually, you've probably been doing yoga and didn't know it. Yoga is
Okay.
more than the poses.
Mm,
I briefly mentioned earlier the 8 limbs of yoga.
mm,
That the third limb is asana, and that is one
mm,
limb,
mm-hmm,
so sometimes when you're sitting in meditation, no, it's not sometimes, when you are sitting in meditation and you're being still, you're
mm.
practicing stillness, that is still yoga. So you have been doing yoga.
Thank you. I appreciate you for that.
That is a very Western way of thinking
Mm,
of yoga,
absolutely.
focusing only on the physical.
Yeah,
And when
absolutely.
I teach my classes, I try to get people out of that because that is a very Western colonized way of thinking of yoga. We take one bit of it and we run with it.
Right, right.
But we have a code of ethics
Mm,
within yoga. Patanjali had different limbs and different ways of living and ethics. And, the first 6 limbs are things you do, and the last two are things that happen to you because of the
mm,
first things that you did.
that's
And the
interesting.
last the last limb is like this higher consciousness.
Mm, that's valuable.
So
Thank
it
you.
is very Western and
Mm,
colonized for us to think of yoga as only poses and doing the physical without understanding that a lot of the poses actually help us to focus, become
mm-hmm,
grounded, release anxiety, helps with depression, all these different things. And that's bigger than just being able to do a handstand. It's
Right,
bigger
right,
than that.
right. And I think
Bigger than that.
it's important that you ground us in that because everything we see is through a Western colonized eye, right?
Too
Everything
much.
that we see and everything that we experience comes from there. But I do think it's important for you to say that out loud because many folks, especially folks who are watching this, do connect yoga to the poses or the class or the way in which you move your body or stay still and don't
Hmm.
realize that it's a much broader practice.
Yeah. And that is why a lot of people don't do it. It doesn't look like it's for them.
Mm, yeah, speak
Um,
on that.
I am by no means a big girl, and I'm no by no means a small girl. I'm a regular sized chick. I got thighs and I got the booty and I got all the things. And it's really nice when I walk in front of a room, and especially the older Black women who have been doing yoga for a while,
Right.
and they go, "Wow, I love seeing you in the front of a room."
Absolutely.
And there
Absolutely.
are white women who are not skinny, who are like, "Oh, I'm so tired of these skinny girls representing us.
Right.
I'm so glad to see you." So
Yeah.
there are the Western colonized mind says that to do yoga, you must be skinny
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and either white or unambiguous and ambiguous
Mm-hmm.
look. But the thing is, it's actually literally for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we can't let a colonized view of thinness, not saying you got to be giant or anything that everything's good. I'm talking about that is the sign of healthy.
Right.
That is
Right.
not the sign of healthy. It is not the sign of a yogi.
Right.
Being able to being physically able to do all these different poses doesn't make you a yogi.
Right.
We
Right.
have to be more um, body accepting,
Accepting.
where
Yeah.
it's like if you can get here and do this, that, or the other, and knowing that we have props to help people get into poses and to do
Right.
things.
Right.
Once we get into that mindset and we know that, then we've opened it up and more people will come.
Nice. I
But
appreciate that.
until we do that, too many people, if you Google yoga, it is very small, able bodied people.
Yes, absolutely. And I think,
And there are people, the freaking Paralympics, they do yoga.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
mind you, I love the Olympics, but the Paralympics are on another level.
Indeed.
They're up there. They're on
Indeed.
another level. So all the things that people think they can't do something, they need to tune into that because a lot of them do yoga too.
Right. Right. Well, the word
Yeah.
that you said today is that it's for everybody. And that's the word that we need to make sure folks understand that this work, this life work, because it really is the life work that we need to go about, is for everyone. It's not just for certain kind of folks, for a certain kind of body type, or for a certain
Right.
kind of people. Because it definitely has that, can have that view, right? You
It
can
can.
see it and think, same for, at least for me for Pilates. I was like, well, what the hell is that now? That's a whole other thing,
Yeah,
and that looks like that's for some other folks too, but
it's not.
it's not.
It's not.
It's all for all of us. It
It
really
is.
is. It's all for all of
It
us.
is. And I claim that space proudly,
Indeed, you do. Indeed, you
proudly.
do. Indeed, you do. I appreciate that. Um, I would say the last thing that I've been thinking about, just for just considerations, is the idea
Mm,
of when we are talking about feeling stressed and having anxiety, is that we choose what we will carry and what will take up space. And a lot of times we don't think about that, that we are choosing this, having
mm,
this heaviness on us. And then there are times
mhm,
when we have to say, I'm going to put this down. I'm not going to wear this heaviness anymore. I'm not going to. And I have to
mm,
figure out a way to breathe through it or be honest with
mhm,
myself. But that when you are
mm,
carrying something that is mentally and physically heavy, you have to either pray about it if that's what you do, or you
Mm-hmm.
can lean into it, but you also have to be honest with yourself and say, I'm going to stop carrying this weight.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need help to do that. But I feel like one way of managing the stress and the anxiety is to one, face that you're carrying it and then release it and then let it go.
Yeah. And that itself takes so much. That is the journey.
That is the journey.
And we still live in a microwave society. We
Everything
want it
quick.
now.
Yeah.
Um, some of the words that we use now are journey, the road to,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to understand that that stuff is real. It is a journey to get to that point.
Absolutely.
And that's why I start with the 2 minutes, because it's such a journey to get to the point that you just mentioned. It's like we can get there, but it takes discipline, takes a commitment, and it takes a regular understanding that this is a journey. It's not going to happen overnight.
We are
And you have
all
to
journeying.
celebrate. Yeah, you got to celebrate your daily, um, I don't know,
Our
the
daily
daily
wins.
things that you do that are a big deal
Yeah.
and that you never thought were. Like sitting down for 5 minutes and just breathing and being thankful for the gift of breath.
Yes.
That's part of the journey sometimes. And that is also going from the inside out instead
Mm-hmm.
of letting the outside rule. So, a lot of things that you're talking about with um, not knowing how to get there, that's a lot of times that is external. You mentioned
Yeah.
choice, and we have choices. It's not always easy in those choices,
Absolutely.
but the journey to making the proper choice for you, it can happen. It really
Absolutely.
can. So
Absolutely.
as we talk about that journey, we have to know it's a day at a time.
Yes.
I still think accountability partners work. Um, not that you have to meditate with other people, but you have a friend who's like every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, just check in with me, ask me, have you meditated yet?
Hmm.
Our alarms are good enough that we can set them,
Yeah.
and our alarm can go off and be like, oh, time to meditate. And we can put that in our calendar.
Right.
So if you have an office with a door, close the door for 2 minutes. If you have a cubicle, that might be harder, but you can just breathe.
Right.
And you can stop for a second. You always
Right.
can. Just stop
Right.
for a second. Hell, if anybody has to go to the bathroom, which we all do during the day, no matter what, take some time in that stall.
How about that? How about that?
There you go.
I
I'm always
love
driving from
these.
place to place. When I park, I sit still, turn the car off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We can always find the time. That's a choice for us to make. If we are taking the train and we're here and we're getting to the elevator, that's your time.
Right.
Because some people, it's like you got the kids or you got this and all this stuff is going on. And when you get out the
Right.
house, you're finally able to like focus on you, which is not really because you go to work.
Right.
And
Right.
then let's say you get into that elevator. While you're in the elevator, you might be in there with tons of people. Withdraw. You know it takes 62 seconds to get to your floor. That's your time to be still.
Mm,
Don't get on your phone.
I
See if
love
you
it.
can withdraw from everyone around you for just that minute and then see what happens for the rest of your day. So these are things that can actually bring you calm, just the breath. Um, there are different poses to do in yoga. Most people can't do them in their work clothes, but you can stand up tall in what we call mountain pose
Mm-hmm.
and take some breaths. It
Mm-hmm.
really does wonders for you to do that too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I love the idea of an accountability partner, and I love the
Mm,
idea of utilizing the the moments of time that seem to be, not there for you. So when you're on your way to lunch, when you use the bathroom, when you're in the elevator, take that time, claim that time,
Yeah.
and use that as a 2-minute moment of focus. And I love the
Yes.
idea of setting a timer because I mean, I have a timer for
Mm-hmm.
everything. I mean, I have a reminder for everything. I may not have a timer, but I have a reminder, and I definitely have a
Yes. Put
list.
it on your calendar
So put
with
it
a
on the
30-minute
calendar.
reminder.
I love that. Put it on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
All right, those are all wonderful, wonderful, wonderful strategies for us
Thank you.
to dig into.
And they're practical.
Yes.
There are so many other ways to go deeper into it, but why?
Mm.
Start somewhere. Start early. Start
Start
here.
start
Don't worry about
somewhere.
the deeper ways and the other way. There's so many. But for now, just start with being still, breathing, not letting the outside get to you for 2 minutes, releasing the outside stimuli, releasing all of that.
I love it. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Where are you teaching classes? If you want to share, or if you want to, give us some. How can people find you?
Well,
Information.
let's see. You can find me at Rock Collage in Teaneck, New Jersey. It's right on Cedar Lane in Teaneck. I teach Monday mornings at 11:30. I teach Hatha Yoga Monday mornings at 11:30. Yin Flow Thursday morning at 11. And then in the evening on Thursdays, I teach Pilates and I teach yoga, Yin Yoga. And then Saturday, I also teach flow yoga and then yin again. And I teach at Pure Bliss in Fort Lee. Teach at Pure Bliss in Fort Lee Fridays at 10 a.m.
You are
And
busy.
I do retreats. My next
Yes.
retreat is in Sedona, December
Okay.
29th through January 2nd. Yes, we are spending New Year's out there. We are raising our vibrations into
Ooh,
the new year.
I love
And
that.
then in February, we're going to Cuba. So a
Ooh.
lot of my dates and a lot of the things that I do, if you're in education or if you got kids
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, they fall around the time when people are out of school.
Okay.
Or when if you're an educator, so you have over the Christmas holiday,
Right.
and then you have over President's Day weekend, and then I have
Mm-hmm.
things in the summer. And I do yoga teacher trainings, and I encourage anyone, first and foremost, anyone who
Yes.
wants to get into the discipline and the love of yoga, the love of union. That's
Mm-hmm.
what yoga means. Please see me. I give yoga teacher trainings. In the middle of one right now.
Nice.
My next one will be July 2025, and it's a month-long intensive in Kilimanjaro, Tanzania.
Wonderful. That's
And
amazing.
I encourage our brothers and sisters, especially, come on out.
Come on out. Well, yes,
It's
make sure you
okay to learn a little bit more.
give me all of that good information. I will drop it in the show notes and I am so happy. Oh, yes, plug the book. Plug the book. Everybody can do yoga.
Every
Body.
body. You
Yes.
see that, right, everyone?
Yes.
So don't
Yes.
tell me what your body looks like. I'm telling you what your body needs.
I
It's
know
not what
that's
your body
right.
looks like.
I know that's
It's
right.
not what it looks like.
I love it. Well,
It's what your body needs. You can do it.
I love it. So on that note, we have to cheers, my sister. So glad to have you here.
Cheers.
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 Cheers. Thank you. I so
Mhm.
appreciate you. Um,
I
all of
adore you
that
and I
goodness.
appreciate you. And
All of
thank you
that
for having
goodness.
me on.
Thank you for
Thank you.
coming. Thank you for being with me. And thank you for sharing all of those good nuggets, especially the practical tips, because sometimes we just need to hear from someone else, right?
Mm.
My husband has been
Yes.
saying, I've been telling you all this time, but you want to sit down and talk to someone? I said, someone who
Right,
actually
right.
knows.
That is what happens.
That is what happens. So I'm hoping that our conversation will spark something for someone who's watching, for them to
I
say, all
hope
right,
so.
I can take 2 minutes and I can breathe
I hope
and
so.
I can relieve some of that stress. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
yes.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Good seeing you,
Be
Dee.
well, everyone.
Be
Thank
well, be
you.
well,
Be well.
be well. So I hope that this conversation was helpful to a few of you or many of you. I just want everyone to just have a moment with themselves and to realize that those words of those simple tips can be really a part of your everyday. If any of this conversation resonates for you or for someone else, please share this with someone else. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and drop in the comments anything around what you are doing to help you reduce your stress and anxiety. And if you want to find out more information about Sister Lateefah, I will have that information in the show notes below. So thank you again. I'm so glad you were able to join us, and cheers to next week.